So I was on Facebook. Johnny Hauser was talking some mad shit about the Travel Channel.
Was he really?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
I see him as a spicy little person. I'm not shocked that he's speaking his opinion. He seems like an opinionated guy that's not really going to hide from it. But he's such a nice guy that I was kind of surprised that he
was so outspoken about something like that.
Well, yeah, and he was just on the Travel Channel.
Yes.
I know, like, as a guest or whatever, but and honestly, the stuff he was saying, it was very true.
Oh.
He was not like mean or whatever. It wasn't like this is complete dog shit or anything like that. He was talking about all the new shows that the Travel Channel has coming out and just how ridiculous they seem. And I'm with him. I've seen some previews and commercials for these, and I'm like, yeah I am totally not interested. It looks fake. It looks just overly dramatic. It reminds me of that show Paranormal State. I mean, it's just like way overproduced, and I'm just like not interested.
Don't start talking Chip Coffey's gold mine there.
Now,
Paranormal State.
I love him, and I'm not saying that the people that were on it don't have skills or talent to what they were doing. It was the total way it was put together for me. It was just so overproduced. It didn't seem very realistic at all. Hey, shit, Ghost Adventures, and you know I love them. But Ghost Adventures was playing some sound effects during their investigation. And I was like, really? You can't do that. I don't know where that's coming from. You know, it takes you a second to register. Wait, is everybody else hearing that? Oh, that's a sound effect that you added in. Don't do that. I just want to see the real hardcore evidence, you know?
Yes. I don't know. I didn't see that. I know about some of the new shows. The Ghost Bait show, that seems something. I'm not sure about that. I guess I'll have to see it to decide. I am excited about Katerina Weidman's new show with Jack Osborne. I think that looks good. But I don't know what else is coming out. I do want to take sides with Johnny Hauser only because I know him. I met him. He seemed like a reasonable guy. He was super nice to us. He waited for us. It was totally cool about the fact that we were way late. You know, I didn't take him as the kind of guy that was a hothead, you know, by any means. So, that's very interesting. I just started following him on Instagram, as a matter of fact, because once the episode aired of the Villisca Axe Murder House, I was like, why am I not following this dude? I love Johnny Hauser. So just started following him on Instagram. But needless to say, if he mentioned anything like that on Instagram, I surely did not see it.
No, he didn't. This other show he was talking about, it's Paranormal Caught on Camera.
Oh, I've seen that. It comes on Friday nights.
Yeah, and I've seen previews for it. I did not watch it, but just watching the previews, I'm like, I just watched an outdoor umbrella completely open by itself. I mean, like this stuff looks like basically too good to be true.
Yeah, it's like everybody's hodgepodge of everything they've ever collected, be it actually researched or not. Then it's like, here's a TV show based on all of these alleged encounters.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know.
I'm like I said, I didn't watch the show. I wonder if they put this through some kind of test to tell if it's been edited or if anybody explains like, oh, they could have put a string here and blah, blah, blah. And this is how, I want somebody to go in there and try to debunk it, basically.
Right.
I saw a preview with a baby standing on the side of a crib. So, I mean, how did you fake that one? And that's dangerous. Somebody should take that baby away from somebody if they did fake that one.
I want to say, so when they started showing the preview for that show, they were using that in the clip as the preview for This Is Our New Show. That happened a long time ago, and I want to say they got in trouble for putting that all over social media because their kid is standing on a crib and it's just being filmed. Like, why is this happening? I want to say they got in trouble for that. I could be thinking of some complete different occurrence of some other baby standing on a crib. I don't
And it happens so often.
Right? Listen, anybody should be able to record this.
Well, I mean, I probably could when mine were that age. They love to get out of their damn crib, but I don't think it looks like that when they do it. You know, it's more like they flop themselves over and stuff.
Yeah.
They're more like roly-polies at that age. And this one was like balancing, like he was from a circus family or something. It just,
yes.
I would see where people would, attack the family for that. There's one that circulated in social media just a week ago or whatever. This family up in Minnesota, Michigan, something like that. I think Michigan maybe. They swear their house is haunted and it attacked their baby and scratched their baby. And they've got this video of the baby in a playpen, like in the living room, and a shadow figure walks by, and it's like the baby is watching it walk by, but the baby's not crying. So if they're implying that it walked by and scratched their baby, how come the baby's not crying? Also, how come you just watched this happen?
Right.
Why are you? There were people that even asked that, and that baby wasn't balancing on its crib or on its playpen or anything. It simply watched a shadow figure walk by, but they said my baby was scratched. And so everybody's like, why would you let this happen to your baby? Why would you just video record it? Why would you leave your baby alone? So parents, people out there always like to judge other people's parenting. So I'm sure that,
yes,
that we're talking about
100%.
the same video years ago, people getting criticized for that. I just don't see how it's real. That seems so insane.
It does. It seems like it's basically fueling every conspiracy theory and idea and paranoia, everything that's out there. You know how they have shows about everything now, and unfortunately the paranormal kind of falls into that. There's a show about everything now kind of thing. They got the pimple popper, they've got the botched liposuction shows. They've got everything.
People like to watch really extreme stuff is what you're saying. So whether this stuff is true or made up, it doesn't matter. There's some people that like to sit back and watch it like it's a thrill ride. So I guess that's why they put shows like that out there. So I'm with Johnny Hauser on being like, that's not my jam.
I like Johnny Hauser, and I think it's great that he was kind of like saying, hey, Travel Channel, what the fuck are you guys doing? And he wasn't saying necessarily kindred spirits, because that would have been weird since, he was just on that show. I'm like, what the hell?
It's not like he said everything on the Travel Channel is garbage. He just said all these new shows is extreme, like calm down. And then he promoted his little network that he's on.
Well, yes, of course. Yes. Hey, by the way, also, if you want to watch some real shit go down, then check me out on my thing, because yes, plug. I mean, I don't blame him. I'd do the same thing. Speaking of, we have a podcast.
I was just catching on as you were like, yes, I would do the same thing. Oh, we should have done the same thing.
All those extreme things that are out there, don't bother with them. Check us out on our podcast.
Yeah, we're real as fuck. And our podcast is Creatures of the Night Paranormal. Thank you for joining us. I said that weird. Thank you for joining us. Like I was choking on my words. I'm Wendy.
I'm Chris, and thank you for joining us.
She said it much better than I did.
I was trying to make it sound extreme and weird, so hopefully I managed to get there.
Taking the dramatic Travel Channel approach to it, I guess.
Yes, the dramatic. Yes, I am.
Your team Travel Channel.
By the way, Travel Channel, if you want to contact me, my number is I can be reached at Creatures of the Night Paranormal. So anyways, I did something really kind of amazing today. Do you want to hear about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love amazing stuff. Don't tell me boring stuff.
Okay, for our listeners, I really hope I'm not going to bore you to death. This is really more geared towards Wendy. So this next couple of moments. No, but seriously, this is super cool. So today I did a little bit of Massachusetts exploring.
I love exploring.
Oh my God, I know you do. You're going to love this. My husband had to drive out to Concord, Massachusetts, and he found something that naturally piqued my interest. Not to mention that there's this amazing grocery store out there that I love, like 100%. So I was totally on board with this trip. By the way, that grocery store is Wegman's, and New Hampshire needs to get on it and build one out here. Do you have one of those, a Wegman's?
No, I've never heard of that.
It speaks to me because their gluten-free section is like 40 sections. It's amazing. Nice. I love this store. So anyways, the spot that my husband found is this beautiful cemetery, and it is called Sleepy Hollow, which, I know, right? Unfortunately, as far as I know, there's no Headless Horseman here.
Damn.
I know. The Sleepy Hollow from Washington Irving's story is actually in New York, But this Sleepy Hollow just so happens to have a few well-known authors buried there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is cool. Nathaniel Hawthorne happens to be one of them. I know.
And you just stumbled upon this? Or
yes.
Your amazing husband was like, hey, these really famous dead people are buried here, and we need to get some groceries. Are you good with that? What did you just say? The love of my life.
I know. I was gleaming, and I, of course, withheld this information from you all week long because I knew that we were going. But yeah, so Nathaniel Hawthorne is one of the people that are buried there. I don't really need to introduce him because he's pretty well known, but I will add he has ties to the Salem witch trials for anyone listening that doesn't know that. His ancestor being the notorious judge John Hathorne, and also the reason why Nathaniel started spelling his last name with a W.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be to that shit. His wife Sophia and their daughter are laid to rest there as well. Buried there among them are Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was a poet and a lecturer. Louisa May Alcott, who was the author of Little Women. I
love that book.
I knew as soon as I said that you're going to be like, oh, wait. As well as many politicians, historians, and casualties of the American Civil War. And, oh, Wendy, you just got to see this place. It's great. We did some hiking around the cemetery today because it's laid out in a very specific manner so that it is picturesque and it is inviting. And they have these stone stairs that kind of lead to nowhere, and they're very Hobbit-like. The stones are old. They have these huge crosses. There's one that has this great Celtic symbols like all over it in stone. The stonework there too, by the way, is just very impressive. It's amazing for me to see so many intact stones in one area, and they're all super old. You know, normally when you go to some of the graveyards out here in New England, there's a lot of old stones, but they're not all intact anymore. They've been vandalized or kicked over, or just maybe from, the weather, they've just fallen apart. There's a sign clearly as you walk into this cemetery that says no rubbings whatsoever. So that might have helped in the preservation of some of the stones at that place.
That's so interesting because we see that so often, like, don't touch it,
Well, because finally somebody figured out, hey, that's why this shit's falling apart, because these people are coming in here and like trying to steal history, which I would have been that person had I, not learned of what that was actually doing to those, those stones. But This is a cool place to visit. And I just love New England because just around every corner is a little piece of history, and you really don't have to go too far to find it. Driving to Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, we discovered, takes you through the Minuteman National Park, which in April of 1775 happened to be the opening battle place of the American Revolutionary War. Many of the houses from what became known as Battle Road are still standing. Some of those houses are from like the 1690s.
Damn.
And one of the super cool aspects that I thought was even a bit chilling is the site where Paul Revere's midnight ride ended. They have it at like a huge encircled wall made of stone marking the exact spot where Paul Revere was captured.
Crazy. That's crazy that you just like cruise by this stuff. Oh, look at that. That's where our history began.
It is super, super cool. Exactly. That's what I was going to say, that I've been living here for what now, going on 6 years, and we just found out that that's there.
But you visited a lot of historic places over time. So, I mean, like, finding this one, it's not like we've been to Plymouth together. Yeah. And you've done that whole Boston walking tour and stuff, and think of all the places that goes by. So.
Oh, that's another thing. While we were here and while I was putting that down, writing that down today so that I could tell you about it, I'm like, that place, that walking tour in Boston, plus this, I mean, there's so many things that I'm thinking of to take you to while you're here. I don't know if we're going to get to sleep at all. When we podcast and you're up here, it's going to be we're going to be like, blah, 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 because there's no sleep when you're up here.
We have to figure out a way to mobile podcast. I'm sure it'll sound like dog shit, but
that was my dream. I had that dream, we were recording on my cell phone. Well, we got to give our listeners something interesting every week. So maybe recording from the car will be interesting.
Yeah, we just need somebody to drive us around, and then we can record in the back. That was a genius idea.
Done.
That can happen.
That's done. Yeah, my son will have his driver's license for sure by then. So goals. So yeah, I thought that was amazing. There were just a few people scattered throughout the cemetery while I was there. This one lady had like her big, massive, maybe Canon or Nikon, I'm not sure, with the crazy extended lens. And I don't know if she was just doing something artsy, trying to take photos of the stones or what, or if she was a weirdo like me. She sure as hell didn't seem like it, because I'm running around the place, like kicking my heels up in the air, giddy as like a schoolgirl, taking selfies with the gravestones, because that's how I roll. And she's just like, with her massive lens, just like, zooming in and out and and I'm like bouncing around. So I don't know. I don't know if she was just like thinking, what the hell is happening?
If she is, I do believe that she was probably taking professional photographs. She was not there for any paranormal purposes, I bet. You don't need that many lenses or that big of a zoom for that kind of activity. However, if she does that a lot in cemeteries, I'm certain she's ran into weirdos like you before, though. So she was probably not even studying it.
Probably not, but she did stay far, far away from me, which I mean, I would have as well. But then there was another couple there, just like jogging through the cemetery with their kid in a stroller, and the man had decided to bring this kid up in the stroller on one of those paths covered in moss. And my husband and I are like standing there watching. He couldn't fucking figure out how to get down. I'm like, yeah, why did you make that happen, sir? That was a bad decision. So then, of course, his wife is down at the bottom, like yelling at him, like, rah, rah, ha, 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 rah, like she's trying to tell him what to do, and he's confused.
Was she a pterodactyl? I mean,
yes. Yes, that was the next part of my story. She was a pterodactyl. Well,
that's amazing.
I couldn't actually make out what she was saying, but that's all I heard was rah, rah. So otherwise, the cemetery was pretty much calm. It was a cool place. Definitely got to take you there. And I've got pictures like about 1,000 to post eventually.
Oh, I bet they're gorgeous.
It's a cool place. So anyways, that has nothing to do with my story whatsoever.
Oh,
that was
good
just
talk then.
Yes, totally off the subject. So
now you're going to tell me like about aliens or something. Are you just a complete 180?
You know me too well, Wendy. You know me too well.
Did I just guess right?
It's not aliens, but it is a complete 180. So my story actually begins somewhere in India. We're going to go to a town called Darjeeling. It's in the West Bengal state. Yes, that's what I mean by has absolutely nothing to do with New England.
Nothing about American history or anything.
It is historic, so I'm just gonna follow that note.
That's the one theme going on. All right, got it.
In the Himalayan foothills, once a summer resort for the British Raj elite, it is now a bustling little town with the narrow-gauge Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, or something that they are super proud of, and it is called the Toy Train. It's from 1881, and it looks like a toy train. It's like a steam train, I think.
How big is this toy train?
It's a legit train. Like people get on and use it to like ride around the town on.
But like maybe like more like little kid size, but you can get on it, or it's full size?
It's full size. I think they just call it a toy train because it like just looks like a toy train.
Okay.
So yeah. I don't really know. That's all I got for you on the toy train. But I don't think it's haunted, so moving on.
Oh, that's why I was asking so many questions.
Don't worry about it. Darjeeling is known for its distinctive black tea. This tea happens to be grown on the plantations all along its surrounding slopes. It's called the champagne of black teas. It is pretty damn good tea. I'm just going to mention that.
I love black tea, so.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's got a little bit of a bite to it. It neighbors Mount Kanchenjunga, which happens to be among the world's highest peaks. Kanchenjunga is the third highest mountain in the world. It lies between Nepal and Sikkim, India, with 3 of the 5 peaks directly on the border. The remaining 2 in Nepal's Taplejung district, whatever.
You are doing so good with these names.
Oh, and the names? Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm making
they
that
sound believable.
this is where I'm going to have a little bit of a tongue twister. So the area around Kanchenjungha has some pretty interesting shit going on. It's been thought to be the home of a mountain deity called Zonga, or the Kanchenjungha Demon, which has basically been described as being some type of a yeti or a rakshasa. A rakshasa is a being that exists in Hindu mythology and have sometimes been referred to as man-eaters.
Oh, I like her. No,
that's what I meant by yes. When you said now you're going to talk about aliens, I'm going somewhere weird. A British geological expedition in 1925 spotted some type of an unexplained bipedal creature. And when they questioned the locals about it, they referred to this creature as the Kanchenjungha Demon. Also, no one has ever stood on the peak of Mount Kanchenjungha. It is believed that spirits reside at its peak, and out of respect for these spirits, a promise was made to the monarch of the former kingdom of Sikkim, who was the Chogyal.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. That the summit shall remain pure or untouched. Therefore,
they're probably just too lazy to actually hike up there.
It's pretty tall from what I They get about halfway and they're like, yep, we're just going to go ahead and out of respect, not do it. But they say that that's the reason why the teams will stop short of the summit. And around 200 climbers have come close to actually climbing to the top of the summit, a quarter of which has actually died in the attempt. Having said that, some of the climbers are convinced that they've seen spirits, apparitions, demons, and have heard unexplained voices. Well, yeah. I can imagine that if so many people have died in their attempt to climb to the top, that there might be some, something left behind, somebody, who maybe unfortunately is still trying to get to the top. I don't know.
I was totally thinking something different, that they're just hallucinating at those high altitudes.
Oh, yeah.
And exhaustion, I'm sure, and just, yeah.
I have a good example of that. So check this out. This one climber reported hearing the ridges on the glacier argue.
See, he needs to go back home.
This is his story. He says some of the voices were telling him to move forward. Other voices wanted him to die. He then felt a spirit presence, which was thought to have been that of a previous climber, which guided him safely to his tent.
Hey, that's, yeah.
I mean, that's a positive thing, but it's also could be crazy. Maybe his conscience kicked in and was like, we need to go on back to that tent. We don't need to be out here hearing voices.
This is a bad idea. You're not handling this well. Let's go back home. That's just his inner self being like making good judgment calls.
Right.
Or it could be someone else kind of guiding him, his spirit guide or whatnot.
It could have been a spirit guide, or it could have been reality check. So then there's Aleister Crowley. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure My Favorite Murder did a story on him somewhat recently, or had included him on one of their stories. I'm not really sure. It's been so long since I heard his name that I couldn't tell you what it was about. But I do know for a fact that Ozzy sang about him.
No, yeah, honestly, I think that's where I've heard his name before. It's from Ozzy. I can't recall why My Favorite Murder would be talking about him, but
they did.
Or that they did talk about him.
So anyways, this guy was a real piece of work. I don't think they mentioned this story because I think I would have recalled it, but they probably talked about some of the other shit that he had done. In 1905, a party headed by British occultist Aleister Crowley was the first to make an attempt at climbing the mountain. And I can't help but think that it's so interesting that both a demon and a Satanist have ties to this area. Tying it all together. This party was known as the 1905 Kanchenjungha Expedition. A Swiss doctor and photographer, Jules Jacot Guillermod, proposed his plans to Crowley to climb to the top of the mountain, which Crowley agreed to join, but only on the basis that he would be the sole climbing leader and would have the opportunity to break the altitude record. Mr. Crowley, that was his agenda basically for joining this expedition. He wanted to break the altitude record. He wanted that title to be his because that Crowley, he's just so competitive. Jaco Guillermod recruited 2 of his countrymen, Alex Posh and Charles Adolph Raymond, while Crowley recruited another guy. I had taken his name out, then realized I needed to put it back in, so I'm going to try and get it right. It's Alcesti Rigo de Rigi. There we go. Whom was his hotel keeper in Darjeeling. He was recruited basically to be his transport officer. I don't know what that means. Just officially, this guy was transporting him around. I don't know what that means.
Is he like a local? I mean, that probably helped him with like translation and stuff
guide?
like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have no idea, but I'm just assuming like.
Okay.
Just helping him understand the area that he's not familiar with.
Yeah, I'll buy that. That sounds about right. On July 31st, the 5 left with 3 Kashmiri servants and about 230 local porters, which porters are basically people carrying everyone else's shit around. When Camp 4 was made above the glacier, the team had fallen apart. Jaco Guillermod was especially shocked by Crowley's arrogant behavior and brutal treatment of the barefooted porters.
What?
I know. Can you believe
you don't say.
This guy.
Did he not know him beforehand?
They went on a climb prior to this, so I can't imagine that he changed that much. But hey, who knows? Maybe this is when he started really going off the deep end and really started going crazy.
I think it says you just spend longer with someone and they start to work your fucking nerves. There's nothing else to do but walk up this mountain with somebody and then you're just listening to their bullshit constantly and you're like, I can not take this anymore.
That makes a lot of sense because Camp 5 was reached at about 1,600 meters, and on September 1st, Crowley, Potch, Raymond, and a group of porters made it to about 6,500 meters before a small avalanche forced them to retreat. The next day, Jaco Guillermod and Darihi attempted to depose. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Basically, they were trying to fire him. They wanted Crowley to not be the leader of the expedition.
Okay.
The argument wasn't settled, and Jaco Guillermod and Darihi and Posh decided to retreat from Camp 5 to Camp 3. So they say the argument couldn't be settled. It could be more like what you said. He's tired of hearing his bullshit, and they're like, we gotta go. So at 5 p.m., those guys left with 4 porters on a single rope, but a fall precipitated an avalanche, which killed 3 porters as well as Alexis Posh. I don't know if what they were doing was the smartest thing. I don't know if they were doing it out of necessity. They left at night with 1 rope. It sounds pretty bad.
This sounds like terrible planning.
Yes, very terrible, very terrible. The people in Camp 5 heard frantic cries, and Raymond immediately descended to help. But Crowley stayed in his tent. That evening, he wrote a letter to Darjeeling newspaper stating that he had advised against the descent and that a mountain accident of this sort is one of the things for which he has no sympathy whatsoever. The next day, he decided to stay in his tent and write a note. He's like, me. This is how I feel. And
then the next day, type bullshit.
Pretty much. And then the next day, Crowley passed the site of the accident without pausing or speaking to the survivors and left on his own to Darjeeling, where he, of course, took the expedition funds, which had mostly been paid by Jaco Guillermod. Cool fucking dude.
Nice.
Yep. So that's the end of my story. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a terrible story.
Terrible story. Believe it or not, my story is not about this peak or cool ass Mr. Crowley. That was all just a lead up to the place I really wanted to tell you about, because right around the corner is the haunted area known as Dow Hill of Kurseong, a little town about 20 miles away from the famous hill station of Darjeeling. I thought that was cool. I was actually researching Dow Hill of Kurseong and ran into this whole story about the demon. What was it called? Zonga, the Kanchenjungha Demon. That has nothing to do with my story. But just like earlier.
I like how we keep telling stories that have nothing to do with what we're about to talk about.
I didn't intend to like find out the story, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like I said, when we went to the cemetery, I didn't even know what was right around the corner from it. So lots of cool shit everywhere. So a hill station is a village or a town that is high up on the hills where people go in the summer to escape the heat. So I think that a hill station is really only famous to the locals or maybe just to world travelers. I don't know. It could be that I just need to get out of my cave more often. Anyways, Kurseong is known for its beautiful vistas, orchid gardens, forested hills, and tea plantations. There are numerous religious sites here, museums and treks all throughout Kurseong, but despite all of this, the one thing that seems to attract the majority of people here are the numerous tales of paranormal activity. Now you can see why I was drawn to this story. Home to what is known as Death Road, a headless ghost or two, a haunted school, and countless ghost stories, Dow Hill of Kurseong has some strange goings-on, much like its neighboring peak. Maybe there is a connection here between all of these sightings, or maybe it has something to do with being in this exact location, or maybe it's just that fucking tea. So, out of the many places and areas believed to be haunted in Kurseong, the first on my list is the Victoria Boys High School. And I say that kind of joking since I'm already like an hour deep in my story, and here's the first on my list. This school is the heritage government-run English boys boarding school that was founded in 1879. Originally named the Dow Hill School until 1888, it is among the oldest schools in India, sharing its unique historical background and heritage along with its sister school, the Dow Hill Girls' School. Victoria Boys High School is over 100 years old, clearly. It is beautiful, eerie, and among all of the other things that we love to discuss, it is haunted.
Yes.
There are several stories about this school, and all of the incidents that have been reported happen to be during the holiday season while the entire school is shut down from December to March.
Like, ghosts are there all the time, but they're too shy to come out. And then as soon as everybody leaves, they're like, they got the house to themselves type thing.
Yes, possibly. Or maybe it's because, I don't know how strict the school is, but maybe there's just so much going on that people can't pay attention to, like, the ghosts, you know? So people talk about how they still hear boys running and laughing in the corridors of the empty building. I assume that if you heard that while school was in session, they would probably just write it off.
Yeah.
Also, many have claimed to see a boy standing at one of the windows, staring at them from the inside. And again, these claims are being made during the time that place is completely shut down. So it's either crazy fog creating a boy-like reflection in the window, or someone gets left behind each year, which would be really sad.
Yeah.
One lonely boy. When are they going to take me home? You know, that's so sad.
He's like home aloneing it, you know? That's not terrible.
It's actually pretty fun. Do you think he's laying micro machines like down in front of all the doors and stuff too?
Yeah.
That's why nobody goes in there to investigate it, because they're like, that kid, that Kevin McAllister, the India version Kevin McAllister, don't go in there, man. He's got that place booby trapped. So one of the more sinister stories told of the hauntings at the school is that of a headless boy. And people have spotted him both inside and on the surrounding premises of the school, which brings me to another haunted spot in Kurseong. It's just the little forest surrounding Dow Hill. Just a little forest. This place
You
is
don't
huge.
say. I'm pretty sure it's just all oozing down off that hill, you know?
Yes. It's weird.
Pouring
All of this
into the areas around
so.
it.
Our headless ghost seems to be present here in the forest as well. However, he does more in the forest than just make an appearance. Per the local stories, while walking alone on the roads of Dow Hill, several people found themselves being followed by what they have referred to as a headless zombie.
Ooh.
So, headless zombie dude eventually gets lost in the forest, and then he just disappears. Though the memory of the headless zombie still haunts those that have encountered him to this day. Yeah, I'll buy that. I just think that's so funny. Like, that was the thing that I kept reading. Anyone who's seen the headless zombie is still haunted by that vision. Yeah.
You don't say.
I don't think I'd be able to move past that.
Yeah, it's pretty
myself.
traumatic. Uh-huh. The ghost I saw wasn't headless, and you see what I've been doing with the last 30 years of my life. So
Right. Thank you. Good point. The faint-hearted should certainly avoid the cleverly titled Death Road, which lies somewhere between the Dow Hill Road and the forest office. The local woodcutters have had a harrowing time watching the headless ghost of a young boy walking and disappearing into the forest.
That's traumatic.
It is traumatic. These guys are just there to cut down trees, and there's just, like, yep. Union says we're on a strike again. I mean, I know that we were just on a strike, but we got to get paid more for this shit again. Many people have reported having feelings like they've been followed by someone, or that there was a pair of eyes looking at them and watching their every move. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that ain't the headless boy. Some of the other tales told about Dow Hill Forest are of people hearing voices. Sightings of a woman wearing all gray or all white. Seems like the stories have changed over the years, or there are actually two women out there in the forest. And red glowing eyes staring out of the dark.
That's never good.
No, that isn't. But that might be the eyes that people feel on them. Just saying, like, maybe during the day they're not red and glowy, or they are and you just can't see them as well as you can in the dark.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
I actually came across the red glowing eyes story as much as I did about the headless boy story. So I feel like these are the two most common types of activity that you'll possibly encounter. Oh, although there have also been a lot of reports of what sounds like women screaming in the forest. So I don't know if all of these occurrences are, linked at somehow, but yeah, there's a lot of shit kind of going on in the woods, which are just outside of the school. Ooh.
Awesome.
Yeah, right. Cool school to go to.
Yeah, when your parents like, you are going to the prestigious blah blah blah, and then please don't make me.
Have you heard about that school? Do you really want me to go there? Oh my God. One of the many stories told to the boys at the school, and probably done so in an effort to keep them from venturing out into the woods and getting hurt, is that if you see the woman in gray or white, depending, do not follow her. Do not listen to her if she whispers or attempts to speak to you, but also don't listen to any other voices that you might hear while you're in the forest.
It's like the Bird Box. No, I barely watched that movie, so I really don't know anything about it. Don't quiz me on it. Okay. But I did watch the little part where they were in the woods, the kids and stuff like that. Yeah.
You haven't tried the deal yet, have you? The Bird Box deal?
No.
Where you blindfold yourself and try to drive a car or something stupid.
What?
No, it's not a deal. But like they had to put that warning on Netflix because people were actually like, how they had the challenges, the Tide Pod challenge or whatever.
Yeah, I could totally see people being like, I could do that.
Right.
That's one of those hold my beer real quick type activities. Don't do that.
Don't blindfold yourself and try to row a boat in a lake. It's not a good idea.
Well, that's not a horrible idea. As long as you have supervision, like somebody without a blindfold on.
Life vests. I don't know. It's still not something that I like to see. I like to be able to see. The Bird Box challenge is bad, but no, not like the Bird Box challenge. This lady in either gray or white is been said to torment and depress anyone that she can find and make them want to commit suicide. Ooh. Dow Hill is said to be notorious for the murders and suicides that have taken place here, though I was not actually able to track down any records of either occurring. Many seem to think that this detail might have been added to the story just to beef it up, though I can't imagine why with all the other things being said about this in the surrounding areas. Aside from a battle which took place a really, really long time ago, I couldn't find any news on anyone being, found murdered or confirmed as being a suicide. Would that have been on the internet for me to find? I'm really not sure. This place has been around for hundreds of years, and those things could have happened, and their stories passed down through generations. So I really don't know where I stand on that.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I don't really think that it was a story created just to beef up the surroundings. Like I said, there's so much other shit going on here that it's not necessary. You know, it's not like you go to a bed and breakfast and they're like, hey, and by the way, in our downtime, we actually have some ghosts floating around here too. So let's beef it up by saying that shit so that we can have some more people come in here. You know, I don't think it's that sort of situation. Or if you're like the Travel Channel and you only got one show that I guess is getting showtime and you need to beef it up by putting on all these other paranormal shows. Anyways, I digress. Now, I did find one more thing to add to the massive storm of crazy things being reported here. Though when compared to the other stories, this one actually seems to be a little downplayed. And if I don't mention it, I'm afraid it'll just get lost with all of the other strange things happening. So one local man was walking through the woods during the day. He said that he suddenly heard a very loud and strange grunting noise behind him.
Oh.
But he turned, I know, right? But turned around to find nothing was there. Okay. So he continued to walk, but then as he thought about it, he realized that it must have been a pig. And then as he walked, he heard it behind him again. This time it was much closer. It was he expected to turn around and see it, being right there. But as he turned around again, there was nothing there. He never saw anything, nor did he hear anything running through the woods, and decided, and this is what he says, that it must have been the ghost of a pig.
Well, that's a logical explanation. When you don't see where it went or anything, I guess that would make sense. However, my mind would Travel Channel that shit up, and it's that demon deity. Because I mean, I would expect a demon to make those kind of noises.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
That's what I would go back and tell the village.
Being that he was in the creepy haunted forest, yeah, I would think probably demon noises, especially since there is one not too far away that the other locals talk about. I think it's cute that he was logically thinking that sounds like a pig. I'm in the forest and these kind of animals are around, so that's what it had to be. But then when it was closer and he turned around and there was still nothing there, demon.
Except he was somewhat practical and was like, I guess it's a ghost pig.
Right, exactly. And
I mean, they have souls too.
They do.
So somebody captures it, kills it. They're hunting it.
Right.
And then that was its last spot.
Right. Could have been friends with the headless boy that's wandering around the forest.
Oh, he plays with him.
Maybe.
Aw.
Maybe that's what was happening. They were playing hide and seek, and then that pig saw a man walking through there and was like, "Oh shit! Where do I go?" He's like, "Who's the pig?"
Or he's just protective of his little boy.
Right.
And so he's trying to scare that guy away.
Yeah. Could have been. I just thought, I mean, hey, the ghost pig didn't cause anyone to commit suicide. There aren't any of those kind of stories floating around about this forest. So it's a positive thing, maybe. Whereas, I mean, really, the only stories that seem to be bad here are the voices. And I mean, shit, if you go anywhere and start to hear voices just talking to you, it's probably not a good thing. You might want to get out of there, go to the doctor if those voices continue once you leave that place.
Exactly. And my paranoia is it's not, in that situation, it's not necessarily ghost. In the middle of a vast wooded area, you think somebody's fucking with you.
Yes.
And yeah, we got to go if this is how it's going to go down. Right. And really, it's a poor little ghost boy trying to get your attention.
Right. Hey, have you seen my pig? Well, it's weird. It is one of the stories that they tell people, and with the voices anyways, they say that it leads you to becoming confused and lost and ultimately committing suicide. So I don't know if it just really fucks with you. Maybe it's not real people that are in the woods fucking with you, but it could be some serious bad shit. So I did watch a couple videos on people that went to the location. They're all super pumped, to find something. They didn't really find anything. These one guys got lost in the woods. They were walking into the woods with two of their friends, and two of their friends said, "We need to turn around. We're not going any farther." And the other guys are like, "Man, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. We got to go on." And the other guys are like, "You guys go on then. we are going to the hotel. And they left, went back to the hotel. The other two dudes got lost in the forest, turned around, walked for hours and hours and hours. And yeah, it was creepy as fuck. They didn't run into anything paranormal. They did make it back to the hotel because I saw them. He turned the camera back on and I guess and edited all that together. Like, we finally made it. Oh my God, that sucked so bad. But so yeah, you can make it through there alive. I guess you just have to keep your wits about you. maybe also have a good compass.
Yeah, that is usually helpful, and not a lot of people are prepared with things like that because it's super easy to get turned around if you're not on, well, shit, even if there's a trail sometimes, but if there's no trail laid out and you're just wandering through the woods, I mean, trees look a lot alike. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot of landmarks to tell you this is where I'm going, this is where I've just been, and how to get back. So you need to leave like breadcrumbs and shit or mark trees or whatever.
And it's dark as shit. I think that the path it's just like a little tiny narrow walking path. I've seen some pictures. There are some like stone steps in the woods too, like kind of leading you like through the woods. So I mean, as long as they stay on the path, they should be fine. But you know, like I said, it was dark as hell, and I think they just had their cell phones maybe with the flashlight on it, because I don't really know what they were expecting when they walked into the woods. But yeah, some of the pictures of this place are really, really cool. The pictures that I saw, it's beautiful. Like the forest is really beautiful, but the area that it's in, it has this dense, thick fog that like consumes the area. So, I mean, just looking at it and you're like, yep, that's haunted. I mean, it's just like, you know, you just like, yeah, that is, I could see why they would see red glowing eyes, because it is just creep-tastic. When I was researching the little boy that they would see, you know, staring out at the window, I'm like, well, that could just be the fog, because it is so thick there. All of the pictures that I've seen on this place have this thick, and I don't think that people are just like going there intentionally taking pictures of the fog. I think it's just foggy as all get out when they're there. So it's creepy, but also really cool, really haunted. It's on the top places, I guess, of haunted locations, and probably just because of all of the activity that they've got going on there. Everything from the peak to the hill, what did I call it? The famous Dow Hill. So I thought that adding the little story about the haunted animal was neat, regardless of whether it really was an animal or not. He thought it was. It stood out to me because as paranormal investigators, we've been to places where we've caught some like strange, unexplained animal paranormal phenomenon. A place that you just mentioned with the coyotes and all of that, where, you know, we thought
the smokestacks, but we've ran into a lot of ghost cats before.
A lot of ghost cats.
Yeah, cats don't like to give it up, you know, and cross over anything. They love to hang around. We had we had ghost cats at the
Woodruff Fontaine house.
Thank you. I was like, William Fontaine. That's not right. At that house, you felt it rub up against your leg.
I got, when we were in one of the rooms upstairs, we saw something that looked like a cat coming out of the
fireplace.
The fireplace.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I heard it purring right next to me.
Yeah.
And then, then when we were downstairs, it like rubbed up against my leg and scared the crap out of me, because I thought there was a cat there. I'm like, where is it?
And then we, at the Sedumsville Rectory, we had got dog barking on the EVP that we didn't hear with our own ears. And sure, it's in a neighborhood. I guess a dog could have barked, but I don't recall ever hearing dogs barking.
There about the dog ring that they had, it really tied in. I didn't hear any dogs barking either. And the fact of, like you said, it was in a neighborhood. The outside was so secluded. Like things that were going on outside, we couldn't hear on the inside. Wasn't there like a car alarm going off that we heard once we went outside?
I don't remember that, but I know the neighborhood was like really quiet. We never recall hearing dogs bark, and then we got that on EVP afterwards, and there was a history to that. And then the cat at the Jerome Hotel, or assumed cat, the lady said...
The one that bounced on the bed!
Yeah, the lady told me that room was notorious for like a cat, And I don't remember if I even told you that or not, but you're the one that experienced it while I was passed out.
Yeah. You were passed out, and because my cat comes in, she jumps in bed, and she's like a bowling ball, like getting thrown on the bed. She's a huge cat. So I always feel her when she gets up there. Well, when we were laying down asleep, and I couldn't sleep for shit that night, I woke up several times, but I felt the presence of a cat jumping on the bed. And like as soon as I like realized, well, that's weird because that shouldn't be my cat, like it was gone. Like as soon as I realized it, it was gone.
Which cat gets in the bed with you?
Pandora.
Where's Nimmy?
I mean, she'll get in bed when nobody else is there, but who knows? That cat, she finds weird places to settle down. It's always like she if you had your shoes, she would bury herself in your shoes. Like she likes really kind of dirty places. So if you leave like clothes or something, that's where she's gonna hunker down into. I don't know, she's a weird cat. She likes to find like the middle of the hallway in the dark of night. That's where she's gonna be.
Just right in the way.
Inconvenient and weird. That's what she does. Yeah, but Pandora's always the one that gets in bed with me. She's always the one that sees things in the room too.
Yeah.
But yeah, for cats, I think that's all that we've had. But we had one more animal unexplained noise, and maybe that's just, I've always labeled it as an animal unexplained noise, but it could have been a human scream. It just always, to me, reminds me of the raptor that we caught on at the Loranci house, right? The Watsika Winter house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a weird, screaming, growly, weird noise. And I'll have to look to see if that's still, I'm sure it's still on YouTube, but just listen to it again because I haven't heard it in so long. It was always such a wild, I mean, that was, I think, one of the first clips I ever heard. And I'm like, well, I mean, why not? Why can't it be a dinosaur? I mean, they must have had souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All things have souls. So.
Yeah. So that was it. That was my stories, because it's not really just one. I kind of linked a whole bunch of them together. I hope that you enjoyed it. I couldn't wait to tell you that story on this. There was just so much history there and so much involved that it was such a fun little story to read about. And like I said, the pictures of this place are just going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to post them. If you didn't like it, then email us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com instead of blasting us on social media.
Or just spread positivity instead. Let's not focus on what we're doing wrong here. Let's offer constructive criticism, right. And really just, let's just have good conversations together no matter what. Well, I appreciate you telling me the story because you know how I love to explore the entire world.
Yes.
Sitting right here at my desk. So I'm excited to hear about something in another country, such an exotic country to me because I don't know anything about it. So for you to say, here's some cool shit going on, it's pretty impressive. I'm like, okay, is it cheap to fly there? When are we going?
Right.
We can go get lost in the woods together.
I know. I love that idea.
But yeah, we have different forms of social media that we'd love to have conversations with you about this location and other locations. You can tell us about locations to talk about and to tell their story on our podcast. So you can go to COTN_paranormal on Instagram, and you can comment on our post or you can message us. And there's also a link to email us, which our email is creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com. I'm so sorry it's so long, I know. But all the good ones were taken. And then you can talk to us on Facebook, even though Chris is not on Facebook. But I'm keeping an eye out for you. And she glances every once in a while. And it's just COTN Paranormal on that. And also on Twitter. We have a Twitter handle. And you can tweet us or whatever, Yeah. That's the cool thing to do, right? Chris is way better at I'm still living in the dark ages with Facebook. She's on she's on Twitter. So talk to her there.
Please like, share, and subscribe to all of our goodies.
Yes, please rate and review, please.
Yes.
Because we'd love to know if we're doing a good job or if there's something that we need to improve on. And then, like we said, we have an email address, so you can email us your own personal stories. I doubt we're going to get too many stories on this location, but fuck wouldn't it be amazing if we did?
I would love that. Yes, any of you. Even if you have a scary animal haunting story.
Oh, yeah. Lots of people have those. So share those stories with us, because we're really trying hard to work on an idea of not necessarily doing a bi-weekly podcast, but maybe once a month, one of our podcast stories it's dedicated to just sharing your stories.
Yes.
So send us your stories so that we can put that together. And it's just always cool to hear what's going on with other people, and it opens our minds up to new places as well.
Yes. Give us more paranormal in our lives. We love it.
Love every bit of it. Oh, yeah. And of course, we have to pimp our Etsy shop. It's the Spirit Emporium. And you can go to creaturesofthenight.paranormal.com and go under products. You can get t-shirts, really cool looking t-shirts from the podcast. Yeah, we love them. You should love them too. And there's also a bunch of spiritual products on there. So
yes. So definitely hit us up on any of those forms of media. We'll be adding stuff. And
oh, and one more thing before we go. The story that we did just a couple of weeks ago on the Santa Rita Hotel in Tucson, where the Tucson Electric Power Company's at now.
Yes.
We got some comments when that show released from someone who worked. They don't anymore, but she used to work for TEP, and she said that she could definitely confirm that the building is haunted. She
awesome.
said she definitely got a haunted vibe from there. That she personally never had an experience, but she just felt like that it just felt weird there. And she also said that there were other employees that had experiences that they told her about. She didn't share those with us, but she said other people would say that strange shit was going on, and she always felt like kind of on edge, basically, is what she implied.
That is what I'm talking about. That's what I want. I want our followers to listen to this story and be like, yeah, I went to that school in Darjeeling, and here's my story too. You know, that's awesome. That's a great story from a listener. That's great.
Right. Also, there was another person that posted. This is a gentleman, I think. Well, you know, I guess this could be a girl's name too. I actually think I really like it as a girl's name. So they went to Stafford Middle School. I guess that's near downtown. Their mom worked downtown. And so while she was waiting on their mom to get off of work, they would wander kind of around downtown. So interesting. It's a pretty mellow area of town. Now that's now. I don't know what it was like when the hotel was there. But she said that she would spend time wandering through buildings downtown while she waited for her mom to get off of work. I say him. I don't know. Isn't that awful? The name's Corey. I mean, I'm not saying the last name.
It can be either way.
So I'm like, could be either way, and I can't tell from the picture at all. So there was a time when the main library was being moved from one building to another, so they couldn't wait there. So the people of the Santa Rita Hotel would let them come in and hang out in their lobby and common areas.
That's
so
cool.
They would explore the building while they waited on their mom to get off. I say there because now I don't know if it's a boy or girl. I should have figured that out. I've only questioned it now. They said that they can confirm that the place is haunted as hell.
Ooh,
back then,
I like that.
At least. They don't know its current status, but they were pretty damn confident that it was haunted back then.
I mean, touring the place seems a little bit more limited nowadays than back then. I mean, you got the Tucson Electric Power Company in there now, or a restaurant, so you can really only explore the restaurant as far as the restaurant will let you, and you can't just go wander around TEP, I don't think.
No,
I mean,
pretty sure they're not allowing that shit. A lot of people with unpaid electric bills. You know, they might have to be wary of who they let in there. But I did go visit the sushi place during happy hour, got some sushi rolls for cheap as fuck, and they were so good. So good. All the food was so good, and the service was really great too. They were super nice there.
What's the name? Mayan?
Yep, whatever you say. I
try
try not to
I couldn't remember.
things I'm not certain about. I'm just like, that place there. Let me show you the sign.
I'm so glad you went and had sushi. I know that like raw fish isn't your jam, but
which I didn't have raw fish. I got
the avocado roll.
Yeah, I got the California roll with crab in it, and I got a shrimp tempura roll because I'm not doing that raw stuff.
Oh, okay.
Nope, but it was good. Also had some pork dumplings. I got the fried ones. No, I should have just got steamed, but gosh, they were so good though. Perfect crisp on them. They were amazing. So, and like I said, the people there were super fucking nice as well.
Cool. Any ghost stories while you were there?
I mean, just the ghostly sounds of my digestive system after all of that.
Processing all of that food. Wow,
yeah.
Wow. Demons, then, eh?
No, we took a nice walk after we ate there, and it's surrounded by a lot of old historic buildings and stuff. So it was a really cool walk. But no, no ghostly activity that I can report while we were there. But the food was really great, and I bet if you hang out there enough, it maybe something.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad that you went. That's awesome that you had those follow-up stories too. I love that.
Love that. Always love when people want to add a little bit more to our stories and from a personal perspective. So please, please always don't feel weird. Don't feel like anybody's going to judge you. We love it. So share with us any experiences that you have. Not just on the locations that we do, too. If you ever want to email us just your own personal stories or some locations you think, like I said, that we should talk about or go and experience ourselves.
Yeah, right?
We're always looking for that. So anyways.
We always like to do that.
That's it.
Cool. All right. Thanks again for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.